Oh, Crash.
Hello, Mike.
Well, misdirection as they close the doors.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever had a clearer, more distinct title, because that explains exactly what's going on right now. We were going to give you the economy, and then we're going to take you back to Michelle Moore and Mark Taylor. Again, movement, always in a direction to the target. But having you understand where we've been and what we've recently done is keep those doors open. So I'm going to include you today into understanding of what's going on. All right, the best you can. From where I stand and what I've seen, this may be the only truth you're getting. And remember, common sense, that's what I'm approaching you with. I'm not saying trust. I'm saying here's the evidence. Here's the proof. As we're moving forwardly with cartels, with Charlie Kirk, all of these things going on. All right. So let's start with this. Are you confused?
A little bit, right?
Right. Do you know what's really going on? Now, we just had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, even President Trump's going, it's the far left. And then we're coming out with, did the far right take him out? Was he not extreme enough? Or did they want misdirection, even if they had to create it? So, in other words, if we're talking about far right, far left, and far right, I think we have them on both sides. What would you call Flynn and Raiklan? Right? So, in other words, white hats, black hats, Republicans hating Democrats, as you're all going broke. Don't worry, the stock market's booming, record highs, but you're losing your jobs. You're 37 trillion in debt. I want you to understand the purpose of what I was doing, and the warning for these years was through these entities of theft that worked its way into the Senate and the Congress and these bills. That, in fact, is what Pandora Papers is. It's the money coming back into this country as payoffs and laundering. That's your Senate and your Congress. So when I say audit the Senate and Congress who are passing these bills, put you in a situation of 37 trillion in debt, which nobody tells you how you're going to pay it off. Why don't we audit them? I mean, how many of you think they're on the take? How many posts and how many news articles about how wealthy these senators and congressmen are, where they
No,
weren't
they
before?
flaunt it. They flaunt it.
And even that's misdirection. Here, you ready? You have to understand you're playing with the Department of Justice, which is our target, which all doors lead to the Department of Justice. They outthink you. So they turn around, look at Pelosi. You think that's all they stole? That's
Yeah,
what they let you see.
right.
That's if they're letting you see that, it's misdirection. All right. So let's do this. If you remember, even in our early podcasts, what were we putting up there? We were putting up the evidence. We were putting up, for instance, the evidence list from the Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney Lullen, who ran New England, who gave all my evidence, which was the Pandora's box before there was Pandora Papers. Even as I was giving it to Flynn, before there was Pandora Papers, there was Pandora's box. They needed a place to land. And you know what? The Pandora Papers, they've been landing in there for years, decades before. So that is their laundering network. And the game is still to win. How do you win? You got to take out the protection network. If you expose the Department of Justice and their protection network, you open the door not to all the criminality alone, but to your 37 trillion, which is the real reason why inflation, which is why you're losing your jobs, which is Main Street and Wall Street. I told you a separation between wealthy and poor, wealthy and middle class. It's you. Okay, so let's do this. All that evidence was, in fact, the Pandora's box, the laundering network. We now, let's think, all doors, we've got to go to the DOJ. We established the evidence, and then these last 3-4 videos, we're opening the doors. We're showing you the path to the DOJ. The Pandora's box, ready, is one door away. Do you know why it's so important? Do you know why the DOJ sent General Flynn on December 18, 2020? It was the only thing in the insurrection plan that could save you and incriminate the Department of Justice. It wasn't Flynn's plan. I've talked to these people on the phone. They're morons. On and on, they're morons. Now, I'm not telling you the Department of Justice is. That's who we're playing chess with. That's who we're moving. That's who we have to incriminate. That's what I've been doing all these years. The Pandora's box didn't exist. I built it. I built it when you see me go to the DOJ. You see me go to the FBI. You saw me go to the DEA with the cartels. So what I was doing was building the box. Then the delivery of that evidence, Lowen had to take my evidence when we recorded the Inspector General of the fucking Treasury. How's that? With big fat Aaron Day and James O'Keefe doing the recording. And Gill, it was that recording that day too. Okay? Once we had those envelopes, 22 sealed envelopes, that an accountant who is related to the tick agent Tom Morley, that put it in there. That was mail fraud. That was IRS fraud. That was the protection of the IRS through TITCA. Now, he took it and he took those envelopes. That was physical evidence. I knew what I was doing giving that evidence to him. Under camera with a witness, I said, listen, asshole, listen to the tape. You own it. I know what you're trying to do and I know who you are, which is why they were trying to run another payoff to me. That was the IRS with Devlin. That was them snatching my children. Who would like to see me out of this?
I'm sure. Yeah.
So that move with that laundering network, and watch that evidence, including the cartel. The DOJ owns it, and so do the AG of the United States. You do not have a closer door to opening to incriminate them all. And guess what? Get your money back. Because all that 37 trillion, you find the money they stole from you, you get their money, and you pay off all our debt. Now, how's that? Instead, they give you tariffs, income tax, doubling down. Trump gives the break to the rich, not you. Then he starts a crypto business as he crashes the fucking dollar.
And he wants to pay off our debt with Bitcoin.
Unbelievable. When you crash the dollar, we're gonna do a podcast about that. What you're not seeing, for instance, what's happening in China and Japan and stopping government trade of bonds. I'll get into that. Remember, I only did this for over 30 years and was the forecaster for Fannie Mae. All right. Let's take you back just these last few podcasts. Again, as they're closing doors, I'm putting my foot in those doors. We'll do the first one we did with D. Where we're saying that change in management, Pandora's box meets
the triads.
The triads, right? Jesus, is there a bad guy I haven't dealt with? Now think about it. Department of Justice, the FBI, the Sinaloa cartel. I mean, and we'll throw finger. I mean, is there somebody that we left out? Is there somebody I didn't pick a fight with?
Not really.
Including the fucking Hell's Angels. All right. So I mean, what's the motive? Well, all right. So when we just said about the change of management, understand that was before any arrest of the Sinaloa cartel. We've showed you 4 arrests, record breakers, Phoenix, Houston, Miami, Franklin, New Hampshire. right? Ain't that a bitch? Right back to New Hampshire. Now think about this. We gave you all of that. Now I told you why. What have I been saying over the years? Ready? The fastest path to the DOJ and exposing them is over the cartel, the Sinaloa Anagos cartel. They got Anagos being arrested multiple times. Drug trafficking. How does he own hospitals, treatment centers, casinos? He can't without the help of the DOJ. Who was his lawyer? Bill Shaheen, who was the U.S. Attorney of the Department of Justice. Who did he represent? Oh, Maxwell, who was in New Hampshire leveraging with the same Pandora's box, the laundering network, guys. It's simple. I mean, you can't mathematically, these things that I'm telling you, it's impossible not to be right. You know, there's 49 other states in the rest of the world, and Maxwell picked New Hampshire. And the same lawyer is Shaheen that I told you was representing the cartel. The arresting U.S. attorney was Lullen, who had the evidence. And again, he was closing the door. The DOJ closed the door on Maxwell. I mean, who did Maxwell give you? Nobody. Except for they all settled. Nobody went to jail but Maxwell. And she looks like she's on her way out. Uh-oh, that's a door. Okay, now think about this. The evidence took you to the DOJ directly. They're in trouble. So in other words, with this cartel, if the Anagos gets pulled into the Sinaloa cartel, fastest way to the DOJ is there. We're almost there, folks. You only got to whisper this magical word. Remember now this word. Ready? Dick Anagos. What? Right. You get him. What do we find out? Crash, when you were looking, I knew this. The biggest developer in the state, residential, commercial, franchises, casinos.
Yeah.
And he's a dumbass who's been arrested a dozen fucking times. So now, how does that happen? It's happened with the protection of the DOJ. That's Bill Shaheen. Bill Shaheen was investigating Anagos while he was the U.S. attorney. This is the same time Whitey Bulger, except for Anagos was 100 times bigger. They gave you Bulger. Remember the crumbs to the loaf they're hiding? They're saying, okay, so now think about this. We now have a path to the DOJ. You take out the protection, you expose this. Uh-oh, we get the cartel. That's why they're shutting down the Sinaloa cartel. They're burning the door down.
Right.
Except for that magic word, Anagos. Now you understand why did they wanted to murder my ass? And sending me to Arizona? Did make sense to them. Okay, now think about that. That's one door that we've established even before this. Now, we just showed you, we called out the Sinaloa cartel and said change of management. And then what happens after that? Always after that. Meaning, I'm not speculating. Jesus didn't tell me.
You're not a prophet?
I'm not a prophet. But I am somebody of faith. And you know something? Why don't you start watching actions, sacrifice, putting yourself in danger to save others? That's somebody of faith, not getting rich telling you they're talking to God. We'll get into that. But again, that's also mixed direction. Okay, so you know what? What did we do the next one? Show our last part. So in other words, with D, we exposed the plan of the change of management, the Chinese, and kicking out the Sinaloa cartel. Now you're seeing mass arrests, Sinaloa cartel. I would ask you, why didn't that happen before? And if you watch the video, I spell it out, and I spell it out with evidence. Trump is president because Mike Gill blocked the brokered convention. Yeah, damn straight. Now tell me, look at the evidence and tell me that isn't true. Who showed up to that meeting? Who created that meeting in Arizona? Me. You know what? You'll see pictures of me talking to Shelby Bush and Harris and putting that meeting together from that rally. Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, who lives in Arizona. So what I'm saying is now you know that I did that. No one else did. They'll tell you that. They didn't tell you I didn't, which is always why Michelle Moore was taking down all those podcasts. Michelle Moore couldn't have those videos, me confronting them. Remember she's saying, Matthew didn't give them to me. Bullshit. She was part of it. Now, so in other words, the brokered convention, who is behind it? The Department of Justice. We've got a door, folks. Who was behind the brokered convention? Flynn. Flynn, the national security advisor, defense intelligence. We're not dealing with PSYOPs, MK Ultra. He taught the CIA. Wake the fuck up, please. So in other words, I see through their bullshit. I've dealt with bullshitters my whole life. I can catch you in a second, which is why I don't have the tolerance for bullshit. And as you saw on these podcasts. Now, the brokered convention, wait a minute, who is the beneficiary? Sununu and Haley. Sununu takes us back to Arizona and the money of the Pandora's box and the protection of the cartels. Well, this also gets us the insurrection. That's right. Harris and Bush confessed. You get the brokered, you get that tape, which we know there are tapes. Ask Harris if there's if she has a tape. Ask Bush if she's got a tape. Matthew will tell you he won't, but he's a lying sack of shit. Running for mayor.
Yeah.
They all got fucking tapes. The DOJ heard the tape. Trump knows what's in the tape. What's Trump's position then? Well, I don't know. He just turned around and want to leave Teeter Peters off. Let's get Teeter Peters off. Why? Teeter Peters leads to Flynn. Byrne. Lindell, who leads to, oh, I don't know, the fucking Department of Justice. It wasn't Flynn's insurrection plan. It was the Department of Justice insurrection plan. Flynn, ready, is an implementator. It's hard with my tooth here. I know. He implements it, the plan. That's December 18th. And what did they do with December 18th in Oval Office? Fucking call Gill. Better call Saul, better call Gill. Who told him that? The Department of Justice. Why? Because the Department of Justice knew I already had the door into them. That's the Pandora's box. That's the cartel you're seeing taking down. So they say, hey, listen, you want this to work, you got to take him out. Or you got to turn around and take all his evidence, which what Flynn did for 3 weeks straight. Text message, emails, and recording calls. I got them all, and they know I have them all. Okay, wait a minute now. So that insurrection, so the Pandora box got us into the DOJ. We're at the door now. They're taking out the cartel because we're at the door. Now we're into the insurrection. What did I do after those 3 weeks dealing with him? I drove my ass to the Department of Justice in Boston, was going to drop it on Lullen's fat head. You know, listen, you asshole. I know you, the Department of Justice, told Flynn what I had. I know that. So I was laying it on them. What did Flynn do? What did the DOJ do? That's Audra Toop in the flip. That's the recording. They stopped me there. Do you know when I went to the state police, they sent me to the AG's office? Who that AG became? The fucking governor of the state. Again, I ask you, how do I bump into all these bastards? They're all coming to me. So that was the plan. Only to switch off into the podcast to try to tell you, and what do I find? Flynn,
yeah.
Are you kidding me? And all these podcasters, Flynn and the CIA. What does the DOJ handle, right? The courts, and their strong arm is the FBI. The FBI takes the evidence, the prosecution, the DOJ prosecutes. And their use of foreign and domestic intelligence, like the fucking Mossad. We're not getting the picture that Israel has an unnatural relationship with the Senate and Congress, which is why we should order the bastards again.
Yeah.
But that's how they attacked us. They attacked as a war on your minds. How do the very few control the many? Have you fight against each other, and it's your minds, which is you're running around looking at fucking reptilians and shapeshifters when it's the fucking DOJ. It's common sense and it's money. and power. Okay, so we turn around and we took you from Flynn to the Arizona brokered convention. Now, how did I get there? Which is why we showed this tape. Put our podcast up with the brokered convention. No, we just did. That's fine. With Michelle. We're going to have another podcast showing you Michelle and Mark Taylor. And let's go through his report card and show you it's all horseshit. No content, nothing. None of these guys have content you can trust. They were all CIA. Remember? Shelby Bush, 98% CIA. And on the top, she individually, Vandersteel. Ain't that interesting? But see that was the plan to take me out, because if you incriminate, they knew they were going to take out the Sinaloa cartel. I had to be gone, not to incriminate the DOJ with that evidence. You see, common sense. It all makes sense, and it's the proper movement in their plan of attack. That insurrection now with witnesses tags Flynn again. So guess what? Trump's shutting down Tita Peters because it knows it goes to the DOJ. Now, why is Trump saving the DOJ? Have we not figured out blackmail and extortion yet? Have we realized that Trump doesn't want to open the Epstein files? You remember that quote in the Oval Office in that meeting. Are we still on that?
Yeah.
Are we still on it? Like, are you lost your minds? Well, wait a minute. You were just saying the Epstein files all the way up until getting elected. Have we lost our minds? You see, that's how they spin it. Bullshit. So he doesn't want to open the Epstein files. That's a door.
I was going to say that's another door closing.
A door to the DOJ. Who's in the Epstein files? Listen, Epstein connected and Maxwell to the Mossad. There's foreign intelligence. They're blackmailers, as is an O'Keefe, who's also in the Mossad, who also intercept my evidence with Aaron Day. Before even Flynn, before even the DOJ. Now, the DOJ knows about Day, knows about O'Keefe, and I told them they were the Mossad. Remember Eileen Landy speaking in different languages, working for an Israeli military company? I don't know. See, they knew where my path was before I knew what was behind that door. But I found it, only because I held on. But again, that opens that door. So Michelle now, with all these podcasters, let's start investigating and auditing them too.
Yeah.
Let's find out who they are. Michelle's the door, a domino that knocks them all down. Nino, Juan, back to Flynn. Another path to the DOJ. You see what I'm doing? As they're closing your doors, I'm trying to keep them open. Just as I did in New Hampshire with that Ponzi scheme FRM, that was the banking commission behind it. The banking department was behind it. If they closed that door, you couldn't investigate the real money laundering network. It was both Shaheen's. Shaheen's Ponzi scheme, Shaheen's laundering network. He was the architect of this. And who was he? The Department of Justice. Are you getting this? The Department of Justice set up that laundering network, that protection network. You see, that's how this goes. That's why the DOJ, Llewellyn, protected the IRS, Titka, the Treasury. Remember, that was the evidence I have. We got to the root. See, you gotta get through the buffers. I think that's what the mafia called them, the buffers. Okay, now we take them back. It's all organized crime.
I know.
The mafia became partners, and then it became cartels in the trillions. Right. And that dark money bought your politicians and the corruption and the corrosion of this country. So in other words, what I was doing, remember now, and I'm going to keep repeating it because I have to have you understand the boxes, the paths. The path to the DOJ was the Pandora's box and the cartel. The magic word is anagos. Okay? So now the insurrection with Flynn, you put the DOJ behind it. Who is Sidney Powell? Did you know she was a DOJ lawyer for appeals? All right, the DOJ again. Okay, so if you put that together with Flynn, whatever Flynn tips over, the insurrection, That's your J6, which you found Flynn there. You found O'Keefe. You found Alex Jones. You found James O'Keefe. And you know what? James O'Keefe and Jones has funding from Spillman. I mean, Mossad. They got a statue of this guy, this Spillman, in Israel. Okay, again, misinformation. But that opens the Flynn door. Oh, wait a minute. Which is why Flynn didn't get a job, but he didn't go to jail. But his best buddies became the director of the FBI, Patel, who only said, lone gunman Kennedy, Epstein committed suicide. The Epstein files have nothing of concern. And he's investigating Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And with the DOJ prosecutor. Why do I don't get a warm and fuzzy with that googly-eyed bastard who lied right in front of Congress, even knowing with Stu Peters? My father used to call eyeballs like that Manson lamps. You know, Charles Manson? Yeah, Manson lamps. So him and Bongino gave us the Manson lamps at the same time. Now, you see that? We get Flynn. Why do you think Flynn was my target? Flynn gets you the insurrection, gets you the DOJ. Was there something more corrosive to this country that broke this country up than J6? What if it was their plan, the DOJ? They're smarter than you. And who implemented it? The same fuckers, Flynn, Jones, and O'Keefe. So now if we turn around and get that, all those podcasters, who do they answer to? Oh, the Flynn Network. Remember KFC there, that idiot, that decoder exposure? He's proud to be in the Flynn Network. I mean, it is a Flynn Network. What did Flynn say? I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Of course you don't.
He admitted it. I mean, FCB said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get lost with all these assholes' names. You notice how, they're Captain America, Alpha this, and Ultimate Warrior. Shut the fuck up. Listen, I wrestled the fucking cartel. I put their asses on sign. Fuck you all. Use your name. Ariel, that asshole, who turned around and put everything together of my evidence. That's blackmail, people. I'm alive.
Real name.
What was that?
He says that's his real name. Mike, I was a fake name. I was Crash, the Matrix. I mean, it's I didn't hide my face though. I didn't care. But
here's the thing. When you're an influencer that's drastic like that, you were a truth finder. You were investigating.
I tried to research truth, yeah.
Right. They are lying to people. That's the misrepresentation. Those true podcasters is what generated J6.
Yeah.
It was the trap. It was the lure of the trap. It was the lying about the election fraud.
I say narrative.
I've got other names I could name here, but I'm going to let maybe somebody come forward shortly that I've reached out to get a little more insight of what their involvement was.
Right.
The whole thing was a plan. And that insurrection. Now they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
With the same people. So in other words, what we've showed you now, all that's happening with all the arrests, Sinaloa Cartel, you can pop up the last video image. Understand, I took you to steps. As they're closing doors, I'm trying to not only generate those paths, but to turn around and keep that door open. Peter Peters is a door to Flynn. That's why Trump's got to have her walk. You don't think she's saying, hey, listen, if I'm going to be in prison, I'm going to tell everybody what you did. Then at the same time, you can understand why they don't want you to hear that brokered convention tape, the tape with the insurrection with Flynn, for the election, and the people who implemented, as Harris and Bush, with the mentioning of Stacy Burke, who's got half the questions to be answered, how she was working with all of them as they were taking my evidence. Held a tape of that of my conversation with her right after the meeting in Arizona, the brokered convention, and she never sent it out till just weeks ago. Why? She held that fact because, again, she's trying to get paid. Nobody gets paid if you know. The blackmail to blackmail, which is why they're all recording each other, is to get paid. So They got to keep that door closed. That's why we're keeping understanding the Peters door, understanding the brokered convention and the insurrection tied back to my evidence on December 18th. That's another door to the DOJ. They're behind all of it. And why I'm such a problem and why they put me in this isolation. And if you believe these are only the views we're getting, you're nuts. When I was with Michelle, we got 335,000. Listen, it wasn't for her magical bullshit. She wasn't even on the podcast. It was this exposure. And then they said, holy shit. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. We're playing a game of chess with these bastards, and they're in check. They're in check with the cartel. That's why you're seeing the cartels going out across this country. What did we just show you there in that last podcast with Miami? Largest in history, Miami. Houston, the largest. And back to Phoenix, where they tried to smoke me and said they weren't cartels. They were sending me to my death. The cartel wasn't going to kill me. The Sinaloa cartel, the jig's up. Now, Anagos Mike Grindell, who owned Planet Fitness and part of the distribution center that goes through New Hampshire, which was a registered corporation, started in New Hampshire. The lawyer of the corporation was, I don't know, Bill fucking Shaheen. and one of the CEOs, temporary CEO, when the guy walked into the shower, was Governor Benson. Now, we talked about these things, but those are the doors. And Ariel's popping them up, right? Because Flynn's blackmailing them all. Again, blackmail. How many billions is that worth? But again, the DOJ, the insurrection, the DOJ, the cartel protection, the DOJ, that brokered convention, the DOJ. Now, Maxwell is the other door. I don't know of any other doors. I built 3 of them. Maxwell was one. Who just landed in my fucking nest. And didn't I not call out in a video the state of corruption, Epstein and Maxwell, and what was going to happen? That was before the Pandora Papers. So they dropped $1 trillion on us, and you're not asking, where did it come from? Where did it go?
Right.
It's like the cartels, these big busts at the ports. You know why they don't bust the big operations of the DOJ? They're not giving you anybody. What'd they give you? You know that big bust that I got, the tractor trailer, which is really the largest bust in history of the of fentanyl? Nobody went to jail. DOJ. See? So in other words, we've kept the doors open, and all roads lead to the DOJ, which is the protection network. You don't take out the protection, you don't get the bad guys. Without the protection, the bad guys line up for a deal. Now, the bad guys claiming the same money with big corporations, foreign governments, your Senate and your Congress. So you can't get one without the other, which is why a lot of the cartels went to casinos. They were separating as you were falling asleep, as I was screaming when all Anagos had was fucking bingo. Look, documented it all. Right, remember, there's a video called Bingo's Corrupt. I had a witness who ran bingo at the Greek Orthodox Church in Manchester. She was working for Anagos, ratting them out. They were laundering their money through bingo. Bingo went to casinos. Bingo went to racetracks and casinos, national racetracks. And when I stopped that, they just jumped over to Maine. There you go.
Yeah.
Just as I said they were coming in. And what are we seeing about the hay trucks that said their drugs were coming in? There's been multiple busts. Google it. Coming through hay trucks.
Yeah.
I did. And how were they getting licensed? From corrupt identifiers in the track. Umi Obamadia. It took me a while to hear that name. Now I can't get it out of my head. $1,700 a piece. That was the charge. You're licensed in the state. You get stopped, you get a license. But again, everything you're seeing, which is why I'm afraid that Kirk could be misdirection. Now, whatever happened, lone gunman, movement, whatever, right, left, listen, misdirection, dividing us. Keep to the thing. What protecting that? Do you believe the DOJ and the FBI isn't corrupt? I mean, think about what's going to happen. Can we trust this media with the influence of the CIA? All you have to do is look at the result. You're completely confused. You don't know who the enemy is. Your country's going broke. Broke. Just today I posted, oh, the estimate that the feds had. Turns out employment's going to be worse. Oh, they missed 1 million, by the way. It's going to get worse. Oh, the income coming in, oh, it's far lower. So just as everything's going to shit, before AI takes your job, they're going to double tax you with the tariffs and income tax.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a recipe for disaster, there it is.
Now, when you're okay, your last show, The Doors again, I just wanted to go back to that real quick. You are, your last show was showing how your information kind of tied in with all those different busts. And now what's happening with the bust is it's coming to an end. Is that what they're saying?
Right. That's what that just came out yesterday.
So
I poked that up. Right. So it's coming to an end.
They're trying to close doors, and
right.
You are trying to keep it open because it's not coming to an end. It's not the end.
Right. In fact, it's even more hideous. It's the Chinese, not some Colombia farmer that became a billionaire. It's the Chinese, the Republic of China. That's our problem. And by discontinuing, maybe the bonds for federal bonds, government bonds might just be, oh, the number 2 bondholder in the United States. You want to crash the dollar? There you go. That's how to crash it. That's the movement. Right. So in other words, but see, it's the head fake. It's the DOJ. They put on a show and boom, boom, boom. And I told you the show was coming now, didn't I? I told you the Chinese was in place, and boom, you get the show. Now, Florida, my evidence. Coast Guard taking it off. Coast Guard was always taking it off and bringing in the drugs. Houston, Texas, I had a trucking pipeline into Laredo, Texas. Machine guns, bringing back fentanyl in children.
Sure, yeah.
New Hampshire, I gave you that pipeline, New Hampshire. I gave you their small towns, Farmington, Franklin. I know what they do, just like they're the Chinese buying all of Maine on the most rural areas. 6,000 people, 8,000 people. I'm directly responsible for all of those, except for Arizona. Except for they sent me to Arizona to get smoked. And then they turn around and come up with the Arizona bus, which seems Ariel knew by name. Who's telling him? Michelle Moore, Ariel knows that Elvira's CIA. Who told Michelle? And if Ariel knows he's CIA, why is he promoting his movie, Yellow Brick Road? You see, it's one operation. It's all of them. Listen, if there was anybody honest, you wouldn't be seeing them. How many few people are seeing me?
Right.
What's my motivation?
Hey, your numbers, I mean, compared to other shows you did before, I mean, we get suppressed, and I don't know.
I know. Listen, I'm talking to them. I'm talking to the few people who are saying, we're sending this to the media. I'm putting heat on all those assholes, including Tucker Carlson. You want to talk shit? You want to say you're honest? Well, hey, if you don't think it worked, it got the DOJ all excited.
Yeah.
It got them to send Flynn.
Trying to close doors.
Oh, you bet your ass. How about this? It wasn't good news for the Sinaloa cartel now, was it? Because that's what I brought to the door. But remember now, boys and girls, the big cartels are the American cartels. That's what it is. That's the Aganos. That's the laundering network. That's the distribution. That's Planet Fitness. You think Maine and New Hampshire was full of Mexicans and Colombians? They're the whitest 2 states in the United States. You move into Maine. I mean, it took New Hampshire generations to accept the Puerto Ricans in, and they were only 15 minutes away. See, I know them. I know how they feel. I know what, but now that's the American cartels. And the voting bloc in New Hampshire is so corrupt because they're on the payroll. Tops, the courts, banking commission, the banking department, even education. Still, I had one school, 87 students. They had 23 special needs teachers being paid by the federal government. You know how many special needs children they had? One.
Really?
Really? It made the papers.
Wow.
I busted it. And the guy who was protecting him, here's irony. And as you get older, you make these connections. Rich Farrell was part of the AG protecting that. He was the guy who sat behind me in a seminary for 4 fucking years. How's that? Rich
Wow.
Farrell. Ask him if I'm a tough son of a bitch. Anyhow, so all what you're seeing now is a distraction. Maxwell, watch, she's going to get off. They already move her to minimum security.
Yeah.
Either to get killed, escape, or release. All I can tell you is she's not opening Epstein files. Why? Because the DOJ is in the box. They can't open Pandora's box because the DOJ is in the box. If you get Flynn, you get the DOJ and the insurrection plot. So what I'm saying to you is, don't believe the numbers. This is misdirection. Even with Kirk, they got to get you off the plan. You're going to see Peters walk. You're going to see Maxwell walk. And I gotta tell you, if I don't make a deal, I'm dead. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I could use the rest. The point being is, there's the doors. Here's where we are, and you're going to hell. My plan is not only to win. Anybody else give you a winning plan? How do we win? Anybody give you that? Anybody give you, how do you get your 37 trillion back? No one gave you that. Although Musk knows, which is why Musk sets it all up. He set up the AI. Oh, it's bad. We're bankrupt. We're going broke. We're toast the other day. He didn't audit the Senate. He didn't audit the Congress. And you telling me he don't know? Which means, what the fuck does he got planned? J.D. Vance, maybe? The oligarchs' protections? Trump gives you big, beautiful bill, tax breaks for the rich, and you're going broke. How does that work? So what was it? And then Musk gives you, Trump's in the Epstein files, lights a match and walks away. Right? See? So in other words, where's the profit? He's thinking, you don't think he knows the DOJ? How do you think you get government contracts? You don't think that's with the approval of the DOJ?
Oh, right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're running social media. The biggest social media, Twitter. Really? My numbers went down 100. You see? So no, because it's not about numbers. It's about what they think. It's the numbers on here. I am telling you all these last podcasts, there's not a more important, not just podcasts, news station, any kind of the media, mainstream, any of them. Nobody gave you that. And I gave that to you with evidence. They're all getting rich and I went broke. I'm not broke because I made foolish mistakes. I put those assholes on the signs, you damn straight. They're only killing your children in the future, and they're only stealing the wealth of this country as by cutting rates go. You don't realize what's going to happen. I'll save that. But it's not good. And they got to know, which is why Powell was so hesitant. He just don't want to be blamed. You sunk the ship under your watch. And Trump's going, do it. You ever heard Trump say you're going broke? Musk did. You didn't hear him say about the Epstein files again. What Epstein files? And Musk said, you're in them. All what we're seeing now, once those doors are closed, you don't have any other doors. Maxwell gone. They blocked the insurrection with Peters. They blocked the brokered convention insurrection in the Arizona tape. They turn around and the DOJ and my evidence in Pandora's box, including the cartel, to the Department of Justice in Lowell. No other paths. And if there is, you tell me. That's it, folks. Just as everything turns to shit. And it's about control. Cryptocurrency, shutting off your money. You can't afford to buy your homes. Then you're going to be renting. It's all about control. You're going to figure this out, one day, but you're going to be in a horrible situation. You're going to be angry, and Trump's going to be making billions on crypto. I'm running for another term. Shut the fuck up. No, he's not. He set this up. They're going to cash in and then they're off. That's what it is. So we've got to keep these doors open. When I turn around this thing with Anagos, that's a point. That's a domino. Michelle Moore is a domino. That's right. The Flying Nun working with Mark Taylor and all this. She's in that. She took her orders from Flynn and Juan and Nino, one network. She was giving up my location. She sent me to Arizona to be murdered. Are you getting this? What's their content but lies? She's not even lying other than speaking to Jesus, her in Taylor, who doesn't have a good report card. So that's who they are. You've got to see through the bullshit, which is why they deluded you so badly, which is why all these fairy tales they were giving you, you're being measured. This is what I'm saying. If you believe that, you believe anything. Faith, what a door. The belief without evidence, the belief without any knowledge. That's a target. They'll buy this. They're talking to God. They're talking to aliens, right? Their reincarnation of what was one? The reincarnation of
JFK,
the Egyptian, the Pharaoh.
Oh, that's right. He did that too.
Right. And then we have Pascal as the reincarnation of John F. Kennedy Sr. Then we had Juan being really JFK Jr. Have you taken a stupid test? Remember that shithead test that I had on my signs? It said, if you believe this, then you're a shithead. If you believe any of that, you're in trouble. And they measured you. There you are. That's who. It's some of the people that we met. You're going, I wouldn't trust them with a gun and not with a voice behind their ears. That's what's going on. So I want you to look back. I would like to link those 3 videos, these last 3.
We'll post them with the video here in the description.
Right, thank you. And what we'll do is I want you to look through that. I want you to see the movement. How did we call out the Sinaloa Cartel bus? I'm watching the movement. How did I catch Sununu with the broker convention? I watch movement and I watch his fat face. I watched Haley staying in the race. I go, okay, I know there's a plan. What's the plan? You see, when I said the Sinaloa Cartel was going down, they were all going down, and now they're making it official. It's the replacement. Remember when they caught Pence, I caught Pence flying in New Hampshire with the Cartel, Grand State. They pulled him back. It's the same thing, folks. We're closer than we've ever been. You're going to be in a terrible situation, and you're going to be asking questions, especially with the economy. You're going to start figuring out that somebody's lying to us, and it's getting radical. Then you're going to have to look why. If you get the Department of Justice, you get the Aura Guards because they're protecting them. You get everything that's dark and you get your money back. We turn around and pay off our bonds and our debts. And what kind of country we have? Do we have health care? I mean, all they've done was stolen your money. All they've asked you now is to pay the bill again. What is that world look like? When the CIA was okay that they killed Kennedy. I don't remember Cartel or Bogino when they shut down the lone shooter say the CIA was behind it. If you ask Robert Kennedy who killed his uncle, he'll tell you it was the CIA and has told you that. So in other words, they're covering up with their own radical people. And how close is Bongino and Patel to Flynn? That's the FBI. And who's the AG? Gandhi, who is complicit with the Epstein release and the cover-up. Who is Blanche, who interviews who suddenly becomes the assistant AG, who interviews Maxwell. And when asked a question, I mean, there's other people implemented in Trump's cabinet. He didn't even ask the next question. Simple question. Ready? Who?
Yeah.
Right. You didn't get that either. Nobody's giving you anything, and it's all smoke and mirrors, all the appearances. So stay on target. Maxwell is a closing door. Peter's closing door. Now what's left is the brokered convention and those confessions of Harrison and Bush. And Stacy Burke is at least a witness, if not complicit. And then we can go back to the cartels. Then the magic word of Anagon. It can be done. Do you know what they want you to believe? It's impossible. When I started this journey, you know how many people say it's impossible? When I'm running for governor, you know how many people, inside people, it can't be done. Well, you know what? The impossible fights are the only ones worth fighting. Listen, do you think a kid from Salem, New Hampshire broke off their ass? My father was a bus driver for a lot of times, with 6 of us. I went to a seminary to be a priest and vow of poverty. Okay? I understand the possibilities. What I did was I accept my own death. When someone I've seen comments that he's brave, brave because it's a mindset. What's to win with one person, risk of one person?
Yeah.
But it's to win everything. Hey, listen, I became the world champion of the king of sports. What are the possibilities of that happening? Has it ever happened before? Has it happened since? Hey, listen, when I won, right? You knew it was second, third, fourth, and fifth? The fucking Saudi princess. When I claimed that night of the ceremony for the Eclipse Award for the World Championship, the ex-wife was there too. They knocked on my door. 3 Saudi bodyguards of the Crown Prince. They said if I mentioned how they had bad tests on certain big races, they couldn't guarantee my safety leaving the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Right. No, I wasn't going to say anything, but I fucking did then.
Yeah.
But again, impossible. This kid built the largest brokerage firm in the United States from nothing. My family would look for change. I remember some of my best memories with my father because I was a guru at handicapping races. We used to collect enough change to get $2. We'd go to Rockingham Park to get food. And I would never go to the window. I go, Dad, they know me here. I can't go to the window. So I would make my father take the change to the window. More times than not, I made over $1,000
Oh my gosh.
each time. Right. Which I was the best handicapper in the world. People go, well, how do you, I don't know. Listen, I claimed more horses than anyone in the world. I had the largest stable in the world. You don't believe that I took nickels and dimes and quarters to a window and bet? Listen, what I was is a forecaster and reading a racing program, playing chess, following this. When I built the business, I could see the success see it happen. It's mathematical. And everything I'm seeing now is mathematical. And I'm giving you the parts of that equation. I'm telling you now where we're going. We're at the door of the DOJ. So if they smoke me, know that's why. Turn around and Anagos is key. They can't defend him. You get that to Lullen, they can't defend the Titka and the Treasury Inspector General on tape. That's money laundering. The Treasury is the element that they cleaned on the money they stole from you. The Treasury covers it up. The IRS doesn't audit you, just like the banking department done, which is why they were all on the same 50 million, which is why they attacked that 50 million, because it was an evidence list. It was a how you done. So Okay, so I want you to see that. I want you to look at this, and I want you to see that movement. So when they're all lying to you, the truth is misdirection, the Department of Justice, and you're at the door. You miss this trip, the bus ain't coming back for you. That's it. When they smoke me, if you don't stand up and turn around and say Anna Goss, it's on you. It is on you. I did what could be done. And I'm still working and I'm still going it, but I'm telling you the pieces are in place. All of them are in place. We did that Sinaloa cartel. If they didn't need a change of management, there'd be no change of management. If it wasn't broken, they wouldn't have fixed it. I broke it. That's what you see in there. The broker convention, you know how many of these assholes are scratching their head going, how the fuck did he know? Enough to that Shelby Bush and Harris go fully confess because they think that Trump sent me and they were going to fuck Trump. It wasn't Trump that sent me. Trump won't open it. They didn't know Trump was in the Epstein files. If they did, they'd have said, go fuck yourself. Okay. All right, Crash.
Yeah. Thanks for staying in the fight, Mike.
Okay. See ya.